Okay, think about this for a second. Billions, literally billions of financial transactions are, zipping around the world every single day.
Mind-boggling, the volume.
Right. And somewhere in all that, hidden away, is dirty money. From, well, all sorts of illegal stuff.
Mm.
So today, we're kind of peeling back the curtain on a really key tool that let's call them the good guys, use to spot and stop that flow. Suspicious activity reports. SARs, for short.
And what's really interesting is how much the system relies on, well, partly human observation, but also increasingly sophisticated tech just flagging things that seem a bit off in this huge ocean of data.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we're drawing on insights from FinCrime intelligence. They really focus on providing information for the people, right there on the front lines, the compliant folks, risk
Yeah,
professionals.
they're a great resource for that.
So our goal for you listening in is to get a handle on how the financial system tries to police itself, essentially.
It's not just dry rules. It's about the actual mechanics of protecting the system we all use.
Right. So our mission today.
Pretty straightforward, really. We want to pull out the essential information about SARs from what FinCrime intelligence tells us. What are they? Why do they matter so much?
Yeah.
And how do they actually work as this sort of early warning system?
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks then. What is a suspicious activity report? What are we really talking about?
Okay, so picture a financial institution, right?
Well,
A bank, maybe a credit union, could even be a stockbroker.
sure.
If they spot a transaction, or maybe a pattern of transactions, that makes them pause, makes them think, that looks a bit strange.
Uh-huh.
They're often legally required to file this report, this SAR. It's a formal heads up to law enforcement or the regulator saying, hey, look at this.
So it's like more than just a gut feeling, though. There's a structure.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a gut feeling might start the process, get someone to look closer, but the decision to actually file a SAR, that's based on specific things they observe,
Yeah.
specific red flags. And these reports, they become really vital intelligence. They can be the thing that, kicks off an investigation and eventually helps bring criminals to justice.
Makes sense. But what specifically makes something suspicious? What kind of activity actually triggers a SAR filing?
FinCrime intelligence gives some good examples here. Think about a customer who normally just gets small electronic payments
Right.
and suddenly starts depositing large amounts of cash. Big change in behavior. That's a classic one.
Okay, yeah.
Or maybe someone starts structuring their transactions, like making lots of small deposits or withdrawals just under the amount that normally gets automatically reported.
Ah, trying to fly under the radar?
Exactly that.
Mm.
Or maybe transactions suddenly involving high-risk countries known for, say, money laundering.
Hmm.
Or even just inconsistencies in the info a customer provides. Or, obvious attempts to hide who really owns the money. Lots of potential triggers.
So crucially, they don't need to know for sure that a crime happened.
That's such an important point. The threshold in most places is suspicion, a reasonable belief that the activity might be connected to crime or illicit funds.
Not proof.
No, definitely not proof. The idea is to encourage reporting, err on the side of caution, get the information to the people who can investigate properly.
And what happens if a bank, say, sees something suspicious but decides maybe not to file? What's the risk for them?
Oh, the regulators take this very seriously.
Mm.
The consequences can be pretty hefty. We're talking large fines, sanctions, serious reputational damage.
Wow.
Yeah, and potentially even legal trouble for the institution or the specific people involved if they knowingly ignored it. It really shows how critical these reports are considered.
Okay, so they've spotted something, they have that suspicion. What's the actual process? How do they file the SAR?
Well, like FinCrime intelligence notes, the exact rules do vary a bit by country,
Sure, makes sense.
but they give the U.S. and the U.K. as key examples. So in the U.S., reports typically go electronically to FinCEN, that's the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network.
Right, FinCEN.
And there are deadlines, usually something like 30 days from when they first spotted this suspicious activity.
Okay. And the UK?
In the UK, it's a bit different. They submit SARs to the National Crime Agency, the NCA,
NCA, got it.
and they have their own dedicated online portal for that. Again, hitting those deadlines is really important.
What kind of information actually goes into the report? It can't just say something looked weird, right?
Definitely not. No, they need to be detailed. FinCrime intelligence stresses this. You need a full description of the activity, what happened, when, where.
The specifics.
Exactly. Detailed customer ID info, account numbers for everyone involved, and crucially, the money, the amounts, the dates, the
All
currency.
the financial details. Is there anything else?
Yes, and this is really key for context. The institution has to explain why they think it's suspicious.
Ah, the justification.
Right. What was the red flag? What's their reasoning? Any internal notes or analysis that led to the decision? It's about building a clear picture for the authorities. And, naturally, the whole submission needs to be accurate and sent securely.
Now, you mentioned sensitive information, customer details. What about confidentiality? Can the bank tell the customer, hey, we filed a SAR on you?
Absolutely not. That's a huge no-no.
Okay.
The confidentiality around SARs is incredibly strict. As FinCrime Intelligence points out, telling the customer or anyone else who shouldn't know that a SAR has been filed, well, that's called tipping on.
Tipping off, right.
And in many places, that itself is a serious criminal offense.
Why is it so secret? What's the thinking behind that?
Well, think about it. If you alert a potential criminal, that law enforcement might be onto them.
Yeah, they'd cover their tracks.
Exactly. They could destroy evidence, move money, maybe even disappear. The secrecy is vital to make sure investigations aren't compromised before they even really begin. It gives the authorities a fighting chance.
Makes perfect sense. So penalties for not reporting and penalties for revealing a report feels like walking a tightrope. Are there protections for the banks and their staff who do file these reports?
Yes, absolutely. And these protections are really important for making the whole system work.
How so?
Basically, if an employee or the institution files a SAR in good faith based on genuine suspicion,
Huh.
they're generally protected from legal liability,
Mm.
even if it turns out later that, the activity was actually legitimate. This encourages people to report without fear of being sued or penalized for doing the right thing.
Okay, good. So that encourages compliance.
Right.
Right, so we know what SARs are, how they get filed. Let's zoom out a bit. What's the bigger picture? How do these reports actually help fight financial crime overall?
They're really fundamental. FinCrime Intelligence calls them a cornerstone of anti-money laundering AML regimes globally.
A cornerstone, okay.
They provide this constant flow of intelligence. Law enforcement uses it to spot patterns, connect dots between seemingly separate incidents of fraud or terrorism financing or organized crime activities.
So it's like each SAR is a little piece of a much larger puzzle.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. One single report might not look like much on its own.
Right.
But when you bring together thousands of them, analyze the data, you start seeing these complex criminal networks, sometimes operating across borders. It gives authorities visibility they just wouldn't have otherwise.
And it's not only law enforcement using this data.
Correct. Regulators and specialized units called Financial Intelligence Units, FIUs, also study SAR data.
What do they use it for?
They look for systemic risks. Where are the vulnerabilities in the financial system? Are certain types of institutions or products being exploited more often? This analysis helps them shape better AML strategies, update regulations, and basically try to stay ahead of the criminals.
With so many transactions and likely a lot of SARs being filed, how do institutions and regulators even manage to sort through it all effectively? It sounds like finding needles in haystacks.
That's definitely a challenge, and it's where technology is becoming absolutely essential. FinCrime Intelligence points to several key tech advancements.
Like what kind of tech are we seeing?
Well, AI-based transaction monitoring is huge now. These systems can crunch vast amounts of data super fast, looking for subtle patterns or anomalies that a human might miss, things that deviate from normal customer behavior.
Okay.
We're also seeing things like natural language processing, NLP, being used to help automate parts of drafting the SAR narrative itself, making the filing process quicker.
More efficient.
Yeah, and machine learning is being used to get smarter about the alerts the systems generate, trying to reduce the false positives, the alerts that turn out to be nothing, so investigators can focus on the truly suspicious stuff.
So using tech to sharpen the focus, basically.
Exactly. But, FinCrime Intelligence also stresses that tech isn't everything. The human element is still critical.
How so?
Things like really good internal training, making sure staff actually recognize the red flags, clear procedures for escalating concerns, strong governance to make sure the quality of the SARs is consistently high.
Right. Tech supports the people.
Precisely. It's a combination. You need smart tech, well-trained people, and solid processes all working together.
FinCrime Intelligence often flags trending crime threats. How do SARs fit into tackling those, emerging issues?
Oh, that's a great connection to make. It shows their real-time relevance.
And
Look
there's
at some recent topics they've highlighted, like that Massive leak of 1.7 billion passwords linked to info stealer malware.
Yeah, scary stuff.
Well, financial institutions would absolutely be filing SARs related to unusual account takeovers or transactions that might result from criminals using those stolen credentials.
Ah, okay. Direct link. What about AI? They mention AI being used in financial crime now, too.
Exactly. Their piece on rewiring financial crime programs with AI makes this point. Yes, AI helps detection, but criminals are using it too for more sophisticated scams, more complex money laundering.
So SARs become even more important.
Yes, because they're the way institutions report these new kinds of suspicious activities. They provide that crucial early intelligence on evolving threats that maybe the automated systems haven't even learned to detect yet.
And those other headlines, you see things about Apple ID hacks, biometric data worries, complex phone scams, Facebook fraud.
All relevant. Every one of those represents a potential avenue for financial crime that institutions are watching.
Right.
If someone's Apple account is hacked for fraud, the bank processing the payments might see suspicious patterns and file a SAR. Sophisticated scams often involve moving money, which again triggers potential SARs. Fraud on social media often ends up involving the financial system. SARs are the mechanism to flag all of it.
Okay, so let's try and boil this down. If we were to summarize the key things to take away from this deep dive on SARs, what would they be?
I'd say number one, SARs are absolutely essential reports filed by banks and others when they suspect criminal financial activity. They're a core part of detecting and preventing financial crime.
And remembering that key trigger, it's suspicion, not proof. That reasonable belief something is wrong.
Precisely. And tied to that, the serious consequences if institutions fail to report that suspicion. Plus, the strict confidentiality, no tipping off, and the legal shield for those who file in good faith. That protection is vital.
So we've covered what they are, the triggers, the filing, the confidentiality, and their really crucial role in protecting the whole financial system.
And hopefully for you listening, understanding SARs gives you a bit of insight into just how complex the systems are that try to keep our financial world secure. It's a constant battle against, ever-changing threats.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought to leave you with. Just picture again that immense, almost unimaginable volume of daily financial transactions worldwide. Then think about the intricate systems, the technology, the skilled people all working to find that tiny needle, the illicit transaction in that enormous haystack. What do you think are the biggest challenges they face right now in that fight? And what might the next innovations look like to try and stay one step ahead?